The suitcase hit the concrete driveway with a dull thud, spilling clothes across the pavement like broken promises. Sienna Wallace stood frozen on the sidewalk in front of her own home, staring at the pile of her belongings scattered across the lawn. Her silk blouses hung from tree branches like surrender flags. Her shoes dotted the grass like casualties of war. Her jewelry box lay cracked open near the mailbox, contents glittering in the afternoon sun. She'd left for a 3-day business conference in Atlanta on Monday morning. It was Thursday afternoon. 72 hours. That's all it took for her entire life to be thrown away like garbage. "This can't be real," she whispered, pulling her rental car to the curb. Her hands shook as she unbuckled her seatbelt. The front door of her house, the beautiful colonial she'd helped purchase with her inheritance 5 years ago, opened. A woman stepped out. Young, blonde, wearing Sienna's robe. The blue silk one Brandon had given Sienna for their anniversary. Behind the blonde woman, Brandon appeared. Sienna's husband of 8 years. The man she'd supported through business school. The man she'd helped start his consulting firm. The man who'd promised forever. He was smiling. Sienna's legs moved on autopilot, carrying her up the driveway. "Brandon, what is happening? Why are my things?" "Stop right there." The blonde woman held up a hand. "You're not allowed on this property." Sienna's brain struggled to process the words. "Excuse me? This is MY House. Who are you?" "I'm Vanessa." The woman smiled, placing a protective hand on her stomach. A small bump showed beneath the silk robe. "Brandon's fiancée. And this is our house now." The world tilted. "Fiancée? Pregnant? Brandon?" Sienna's voice cracked. What is she talking about? Her husband wouldn't meet her eyes. "Sienna, we need to talk, but not here. You need to leave the property. We'll discuss this through lawyers." "Lawyers?" Sienna took another step forward. "I live here. We're married." "Not for long," Vanessa said sweetly. "The divorce papers were filed yesterday. And before you get any ideas about causing a scene, we have a restraining order." "A restraining order?" Sienna's voice rose. "On what grounds?" Brandon finally looked at her, and his expression was pure ice. "Unstable behavior. Threats. Everyone knows you've been acting crazy lately, Sienna. The drinking, the mood swings, the accusations." "I don't drink. I never threatened anyone." "Brandon, what are you doing?" "See." Vanessa turned to Brandon, pressing against him. "She's getting aggressive. Maybe we should call the police like our lawyer suggested." "You're calling the police on me?" Sienna felt hysteria rising in her chest. "I'm the one who came home to find my belongings thrown on the lawn." "Your belongings are being returned to you as required by law," Brandon said coldly. "Everything here belongs to me. The house, the cars, the accounts. You signed the postnuptial agreement 2 years ago, remember?" Sienna's mind raced. "What postnuptial agreement? I never signed." "Check with your lawyer." Brandon pulled out his phone. "Now, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to collect your things from the lawn. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police. The restraining order is already active. You come within 500 feet of this property again, you'll be arrested." "Brandon, please." Sienna hated the begging in her voice, but nothing made sense. "Can we just talk? Alone?" "There's nothing to talk about." His voice was flat, emotionless. "Our marriage is over. It's been over. Vanessa and I have been together for 2 years. She's carrying my child. My real family. You were just a mistake. I stayed with too long. 2 years. While she'd been working 60-hour weeks to help pay the mortgage on this house. While she'd been supporting his business networking events. While she'd been planning their 10th anniversary trip. The accounts," Sienna said suddenly, "are joint accounts. My paychecks go there." Vanessa laughed. "You mean Brandon's accounts? The ones he closed yesterday?" "Yeah, that money's gone, sweetheart. Used to pay for the nursery." She patted her stomach again. "Thanks for the contribution." The ground seemed to disappear beneath Sienna's feet. "You can't do that. That's illegal. That's my money." The suitcase hit the concrete driveway with a dull thud, spilling clothes across the pavement like broken promises. Sienna Wallace stood frozen on the sidewalk in front of her own home, staring at the pile of her belongings scattered across the lawn. Her silk blouses hung from tree branches like surrender flags. Her shoes dotted the grass like casualties of war. Her jewelry box lay cracked open near the mailbox, contents glittering in the afternoon sun. She'd left for a 3-day business conference in Atlanta on Monday morning. It was Thursday afternoon. 72 hours. That's all it took for her entire life to be thrown away like garbage. "This can't be real," she whispered, pulling her rental car to the curb. Her hands shook as she unbuckled her seatbelt. The front door of her house, the beautiful colonial she'd helped purchase with her inheritance 5 years ago, opened. A woman stepped out. Young, blonde, wearing Sienna's robe. The blue silk one Brandon had given Sienna for their anniversary. Behind the blonde woman, Brandon appeared. Sienna's husband of 8 years. The man she'd supported through business school. The man she'd helped start his consulting firm. The man who'd promised forever. He was smiling. Sienna's legs moved on autopilot, carrying her up the driveway. Brandon. What is happening? Why are my things? Stop right there. The blonde woman held up a hand. You're not allowed on this property. Sienna's brain struggled to process the words. Excuse me? This is MY House. Who are you? I'm Vanessa. The woman smiled, placing a protective hand on her stomach. A small bump showed beneath the silk robe. Brandon's fiancée. And this is our house now. The world tilted. Fiancée? Pregnant? Brandon? Sienna's voice cracked. What is she talking about? Her husband wouldn't meet her eyes. Sienna, we need to talk, but not here. You need to leave the property. We'll discuss this through lawyers. Lawyers? Sienna took another step forward. I live here. We're married. Not for long, Vanessa said sweetly. The divorce papers were filed yesterday. And before you get any ideas about causing a scene, we have a restraining order. A restraining order? Sienna's voice rose. On what grounds? Brandon finally looked at her, and his expression was pure ice. Unstable behavior. Threats. Everyone knows you've been acting crazy lately, Sienna. The drinking, the mood swings, the accusations. I don't drink. I never threatened anyone. Brandon, what are you doing? See. Vanessa turned to Brandon, pressing against him. She's getting aggressive. Maybe we should call the police like our lawyer suggested. You're calling the police on me? Sienna felt hysteria rising in her chest. I'm the one who came home to find my belongings thrown on the lawn. Your belongings are being returned to you as required by law, Brandon said coldly. Everything here belongs to me. The house, the cars, the accounts. You signed the postnuptial agreement 2 years ago, remember? Sienna's mind raced. What postnuptial agreement? I never signed. Check with your lawyer. Brandon pulled out his phone. Now, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to collect your things from the lawn. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police. The restraining order is already active. You come within 500 feet of this property again, you'll be arrested. Brandon, please. Sienna hated the begging in her voice, but nothing made sense. Can we just talk? Alone. There's nothing to talk about. His voice was flat, emotionless. Our marriage is over. It's been over. Vanessa and I have been together for 2 years. She's carrying my child. My real family. You were just a mistake. I stayed with too long. 2 years. While she'd been working 60-hour weeks to help pay the mortgage on this house. While she'd been supporting his business networking events. While she'd been planning their 10th anniversary trip. The accounts, Sienna said suddenly, are joint accounts. My paychecks go there. Vanessa laughed. You mean Brandon's accounts? The ones he closed yesterday? Yeah, that money's gone, sweetheart. Used to pay for the nursery. She patted her stomach again. Thanks for the contribution. The ground seemed to disappear beneath Sienna's feet. You can't do that. That's illegal. That's my money. Our money, Brandon corrected. Community property. And since I have documentation of your unstable behavior and substance abuse issues, I was well within my rights to secure our assets before you could waste them. Substance abuse? Sienna's voice went shrill. I've never done drugs in my life. That's not what your medical records show. Brandon's smile was cruel now. The ones Dr. Patterson will testify to. The prescriptions for anxiety medication. The missed appointments. The erratic behavior. I don't have a Dr. Patterson. I don't take anxiety medication. Well, someone with your name and social security number does. Vanessa examined her nails. Funny how that works. The full scope of the trap became clear. They planned this. Created false records. Manipulated the system. Set her up to look unstable while they stole everything. You're insane, Sienna breathed. Both of you. This is fraud. Identity theft. You'll go to prison. We'll see about that. Brandon checked his phone. 8 minutes, Sienna. I'd start grabbing your clothes if I were you. The lawn service comes tomorrow. Anything left will be thrown away. A car pulled up behind Sienna's rental. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, got out looking concerned. Sienna? What's going on? Why are your things on the lawn? Stay out of this, Helen, Brandon called out. Sienna's having one of her episodes. We're handling it. Episodes? Mrs. Chen looked confused. But Sienna's always been so. Please, Vanessa interrupted. We don't want to involve the neighbors in our private business. Sienna's getting treatment. We're just helping her transition to a new living situation. Mrs. Chen's expression shifted from concern to pity. She looked at Sienna like she was broken. Damage. Someone to feel sorry for. I'm not crazy, Sienna said, but even to her own ears, it sounded desperate. Unhinged. Of course not, dear. Mrs. Chen backed toward her car. I'm sure everything will work out. I'll just leave you to it. She drove away quickly, not looking back. Sienna watched her go, understanding finally clicking into place. They'd been poisoning the well for months, spreading rumors, creating a narrative, making sure when this moment came no one would believe her. 6 minutes, Brandon announced. Sienna looked at the man she'd loved, the life she'd built, the home she'd invested in. All of it gone in 72 hours. She could scream. She could cry. She could beg. Or she could think. Fine, she said quietly, walking to the pile of clothes. I'll take my things and go. Smart choice. Vanessa leaned against Brandon, victorious. Sienna bent down, picking up her favorite blazer. Her hands shook, but her mind was clearing. Getting cold. Getting sharp. They thought they'd won. Thought they'd destroyed her. Thought she was helpless. They had no idea what they'd just started. She loaded her car in silence, ignoring their smug faces in the doorway. She didn't cry. Didn't plead. Didn't give them the satisfaction. When the last piece was loaded, she stood by her car door. You're right, Brandon. Our marriage is over. Has been for a long time. His smile widened. Glad you finally understand. Oh, I understand perfectly now. Sienna got in her car. See you in court. She drove away without looking back, leaving them laughing on the porch of her house. Let them laugh. Let them celebrate. Let them think they'd won. They just made the biggest mistake of their lives. And Sienna Wallace was going to make sure they paid for every single second of it. The Budget Stay Motel sign flickered in the dark, the letters U and D completely burned out. It read B Get Stay, in weak neon pink against the night sky. Sienna sat in her rental car in the parking lot, staring at the crumbling exterior. Peeling paint. Cracked windows. A few questionable characters smoking by the vending machines. This was her life now. She'd driven for 3 hours after leaving the house, pulling over twice to throw up on the side of the road. Adrenaline. The complete destruction of everything she'd known. Her phone buzzed for the 100th time. Text messages from friends. Concerned at first. Hey, Brandon said you're going through something? Are you okay? Girl, I heard about the separation. I'm so sorry. Let me know if you need anything. Sienna, Brandon showed me some messages you sent him. I'm worried about you. Are you getting help? What messages? She hadn't sent him anything except, what is happening? When she'd first seen the lawn. She opened her banking app with trembling fingers. The joint checking account showed 0. The joint savings showed 0. Even her personal account, the one with just her name, had been drained to $15. $15 to her name. She checked her credit cards. All 5 showed account closed. Her stomach turned again. She pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, fighting the nausea. How was this legal? How was any of this legal? Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her press accept. Mrs. Wallace? A professional male voice. Yes. This is Detective Morrison with the Clayton County Police Department. I'm calling about the restraining order filed against you today. I need to verify your current location to ensure you're in compliance with the 500-foot restriction. I'm 3 hours away from that house, Sienna said numbly. In a motel parking lot. Good. I also need to inform you that your husband has filed a report claiming you've made threatening phone calls and sent disturbing messages. Have you contacted him since leaving the property this afternoon? No. I haven't contacted him at all. That's good. Keep it that way. Any contact will be considered a violation of the protective order. Do you understand? I understand that my husband is a liar. The words came out sharper than intended. I haven't sent him anything threatening. I haven't done anything he's claiming. Pause. Ma'am, I'm going to be straight with you. I've seen a lot of these cases. The best thing you can do is get a lawyer and stay away. Don't engage. Don't respond. Don't give him ammunition. He's already manufactured the ammunition. Fake medical records. False accusations. He's stolen all my money. Then let your lawyer handle it. But right now, tonight, you need to stay calm and stay away. Can you do that? Sienna closed her eyes. Yes. Good. Take care of yourself, Mrs. Wallace. The line went dead. She sat in silence for a long moment, then got out of the car. The motel office smelled like cigarettes and bleach. A tired woman behind bulletproof glass barely looked up. How long? Just tonight. Sienna pulled out her wallet. She had $200 in cash. The emergency money she kept in her suitcase for travel mishaps. How much? 65. Highway robbery for a Roach motel, but Sienna didn't argue. She slid the cash through the gap. The woman handed her a key attached to a large plastic diamond keychain. Room 127. Checkouts at 10. No drugs, no prostitution, no parties. Wasn't planning on it. The room was exactly what she expected. Stained carpet. Suspicious bedspread. A bathroom that made her skin crawl. But it was shelter. It was somewhere to breathe. She set her suitcases down and sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to touch the comforter. Her phone buzzed again. More messages. She scrolled through them, watching her life disintegrate in real time. Sienna, I love you, but I can't be in the middle of this. Brandon showed me proof of your behavior. Get help. I always knew something was off with you. Brandon deserves better. You need serious psychiatric help. Leave that poor man alone. Every mutual friend. Every couple they'd socialized with. Every person she'd considered part of her life. All of them turning against her based on whatever lies Brandon had fed them. She wanted to defend herself. To scream the truth at them. But Detective Morrison's words echoed in her head. Don't engage. Don't respond. Don't give him ammunition. Instead, she opened her email. Bills. Overdue notices. Her car insurance had been canceled. Her health insurance had been terminated. Even her gym membership had been revoked. Brandon had been thorough. She found a notification from her employer. A meeting scheduled for Monday morning with HR. To discuss recent concerns about your behavior and performance. He'd gotten to her job too. Sienna felt the tears finally come. Hot, angry tears that blurred her vision and choked her throat. She'd done everything right. Worked hard. Been loyal. Built a life. And it had all been destroyed in 3 days. Her phone buzzed with a new email. The subject line made her blood freeze. Baby announcement. Join us in celebrating. She clicked it against her better judgment. A professional photo shoot. Brandon and Vanessa. Her hand on her pregnant belly. His hand over hers. Both of them glowing with happiness. We're having a girl. Due in 6 months. Join us for the gender reveal party next weekend. Your presence would mean the world to us as we start our new family. The email list included everyone. Every mutual friend. Every business contact. Every member of Sienna's own family. Her sister had responded. Congratulations. So happy for you both. Her mother had responded. What wonderful news. God bless you. They knew Sienna was still married to Brandon. They didn't care. She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. The silence afterward was suffocating. Sienna sat on the disgusting bed in the horrible motel room and finally let herself break. She sobbed until her throat was raw, until her head pounded, until no more tears would come. When the crying stopped, she felt hollow. Empty. Like everything inside her had been scooped out and thrown away with her clothes on that lawn. But in the hollow place, something else stirred. Something cold and sharp and focused. She picked up her phone from the floor. Screen cracked but still working. She scrolled through her contacts until she found what she needed. Jerome Patterson. Her attorney. The one who'd handled her father's estate years ago. The one who specialized in complex litigation. She sent a text. Jerome, it's Sienna Wallace. I need your help. Emergency. Can you call me tomorrow morning? The response came in 30 seconds. What kind of emergency? Divorce. Fraud. False accusations. My husband is trying to destroy me. Another quick response. I'll call you at 8 a.m. Don't talk to anyone else. Don't sign anything. Don't contact your husband. Can you do that? Yes. Good. We'll fix this. I promise. Sienna set the phone down. The tears had stopped. Her breathing had steadied. Brandon and Vanessa thought they'd won. Thought they'd taken everything. Thought she was broken. They'd forgotten who she was before she'd met Brandon. Who she'd hidden to find authentic love. The family she'd walked away from to build her own life. They'd forgotten that Sienna Wallace knew how to fight. And they'd just declared war on the wrong woman. She stood up, walked to the bathroom, and looked at herself in the cracked mirror. Red eyes, tear-stained face, wrinkled clothes. But underneath it all, she saw someone stronger emerging. Someone who wouldn't cry anymore. Someone who would make them pay. This is just the beginning, she told her reflection. They have no idea what's coming. Tomorrow she'd start rebuilding. Tomorrow she'd begin the real fight. Tonight she'd rest. Because the woman who woke up tomorrow would be different from the one who'd found her belongings on the lawn. That woman was gone forever. And what rose in her place would be unstoppable. The phone rang at exactly 8 in the morning. Sienna had been awake for 3 hours, sitting at the motel's stained desk, making lists. Everything she knew. Everything she could prove. Every document she might need. Jerome. Sienna. His voice was calm, professional. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. She did. The trip to Atlanta. Coming home to her belongings on the lawn. Vanessa. The pregnancy. The restraining order. The emptied accounts. The fake medical records. The turned friends. All of it poured out in a steady stream. Jerome listened without interrupting. When she finished, there was a long pause. They made mistakes, he finally said. What? That wasn't what she'd expected. Brandon's a consultant, not a lawyer. He thinks he's smart, but he's sloppy. The restraining order without evidence. Draining accounts before the divorce is final. Claiming medical records that don't exist. These are all actionable mistakes. So what do I do? First, do nothing. I know that's hard to hear, but anything you do right now will be used against you. Don't contact him. Don't contact Vanessa. Don't contact mutual friends. Don't defend yourself on social media. Radio silence. Jerome, he's turned everyone against me. Let him. Anyone who believes his lies without hearing your side isn't your friend anyway. We're playing a longer game here. Papers rustled in the background. Second, I need you to gather documents. Bank statements from the last 5 years. Property records. Emails. Text messages. Anything showing joint assets and your contributions to them. Can you do that? Most of it's on my laptop. I grabbed it when I left. Good. Third, I'm going to hire a private investigator. The best one I know. Vanessa Hart, you said? Yes. Something about that name sounds familiar. Let me make some calls. Don't be surprised if your husband's pregnant fiancée has a more interesting past than he realizes. Hope flickered in Sienna's chest. You think you can find something? Sienna, in my 30 years of practice, I've learned that people who run elaborate cons usually have practice. This is too well coordinated to be Brandon's first rodeo, and I highly doubt it's Vanessa's either. What about my job? HR wants to meet with me Monday. Don't go. Call in sick. You're experiencing a mental health crisis due to your husband's abuse. Which, legally speaking, you are. Document everything he's doing as emotional and financial abuse. We'll use it later. I can't just not show up. Yes, you can. Whatever Brandon told them is already poisoned. You walk into that meeting, you give them a chance to fire you or force you to resign. Stay away. Make them come to you in writing. Everything in writing from now on. Sienna made notes on her legal pad. What else? Do you have somewhere safe to stay long-term? Not that motel. I have $135 to my name, Jerome. The motel is all I can afford. Another pause. Your father's estate. The trust fund. Did Brandon know about it? No. Sienna's voice went quiet. I never told him. I wanted him to love me for me, not my family's money. Smart. Can you access it? I haven't touched it in 8 years. When I married Brandon, I wanted to make it on my own. Prove I didn't need family money. Well, you need it now. Call the trust administrator today. Get access to your funds. Use them for legal fees, private investigators, and a proper place to live. This is war, Sienna. You need resources. The thought of using her family's money made her stomach turn. It felt like admitting defeat. Like proving she couldn't survive without them. Sienna? Jerome's voice gentled. This isn't about pride anymore. This is about survival. Your husband committed fraud. He's trying to destroy your reputation, steal your assets, and leave you with nothing. Use every weapon you have. Okay. Good. I'll file a response to the restraining order this afternoon. I'll also file for emergency relief to freeze all accounts and prevent asset dissipation. We'll request a forensic accountant to trace where your money went. What about the false medical records? The claims I'm unstable? We'll subpoena the records. If they don't exist, that's perjury. If they're forged, that's fraud. Either way, Brandon's in serious trouble. How long will this take? The truth? Months. Maybe a year. Divorce litigation is slow, especially when fraud is involved. And if we find criminal activity, which I suspect we will, it could take even longer. Sienna's shoulders slumped. A year of this? A year to destroy him completely. To make sure he never does this to anyone else. To get everything you're entitled to and then some. Is that worth it? She thought about Vanessa's smug face. Brandon's cold eyes. Her belongings scattered on the lawn. Yes. Then we start today. I'll send you a secure document portal link. Upload everything you have. Bank records, emails, photos, texts. Everything. My investigator will start on Vanessa today. And Sienna? Yes. Don't break. Not yet. Save it for the courtroom. The call ended. Sienna sat in the silence of the motel room, holding her phone. Jerome was right. This was war. And wars weren't won by emotions. She opened her laptop and searched for the trust administrator's contact information. Her father had set up the trust 20 years ago when she was 10. A considerable amount that had grown substantially over the years. She'd never wanted to touch it. Pride had kept her from it. The desire to prove herself independently. But pride wouldn't pay for lawyers. Pride wouldn't get her justice. She made the call. Beaumont Trust Services, how may I help you? This is Sienna Wallace. Beneficiary ID 847 to 992. I need to activate my trust account and arrange access to funds. One moment, please. Pause. Ms. Wallace, we've actually been trying to reach you. Your trust has been accruing for 8 years without any withdrawals. You have quite a substantial balance. How substantial? The number made her dizzy. Her father had been a successful man. The investments had performed well. 8 years of growth without touching it. She had resources. Real resources. I need to arrange a wire transfer to my personal account and set up a monthly distribution, Sienna said. Can we do that today? Absolutely. Let me connect you with your trust manager. 20 minutes later it was done. Money would hit her account by Monday. A monthly distribution set up. Access to the full balance if needed for legal expenses. For the first time in 2 days, Sienna could breathe. She spent the rest of the day uploading documents to Jerome's portal. Every bank statement she had. Every email from Brandon. Every photo of the house, the cars, the life they'd built together. Evidence of her inheritance money that purchased the house. Her name on the deed. Everything. Her phone stayed silent. No more concerned messages from friends. No more calls from detectives. The world had moved on from her drama. Good. Let them forget about her. Let Brandon and Vanessa celebrate their victory. Let everyone think she'd disappeared. She'd resurface when she was ready. With an army. That evening Jerome emailed. My investigator found something interesting about Vanessa Hart. Call me tomorrow at 9 a.m. Sienna smiled for the first time in 3 days. The silence was ending. The real work was beginning. And Brandon Wallace had no idea what was coming for him. Sienna's new apartment was small but clean. A furnished one-bedroom in a quiet complex across town. Far from the house. Far from the memories. A fresh start funded by the trust she'd finally embraced. It had been 2 weeks since the lawn incident. 2 weeks of radio silence. 2 weeks of letting Brandon and Vanessa think they'd won. Jerome called at exactly 9 in the morning. You're going to want to sit down for this, he said. Sienna was already sitting at her new kitchen table, coffee cooling in front of her. I'm ready. Vanessa Hart isn't her real name. It's her third identity in the last 10 years. What? My investigator, Nicole Torres, is a genius. She ran Vanessa's photo through facial recognition databases and found matches in 3 different states under 3 different names. Vanessa Hart in Georgia. Rebecca Hamilton in Florida. Victoria Hayes in Texas. Sienna's hand tightened on her coffee mug. Who is she really? Her birth name is Vanessa Harmon. She's 32, originally from Ohio. She has a pattern. She targets successful married men, gets pregnant, or claims to be pregnant, and manipulates them into leaving their wives. Then she bleeds them dry and moves on to the next target. Are you saying the pregnancy might not be real? Oh, it's real. Nicole verified it through a medical office Vanessa visited. But here's the interesting part. This is her 4th pregnancy in 10 years. The other 3 ended in convenient miscarriages shortly after she got what she wanted from the men. Sienna felt sick. What happened to the other men? One committed suicide after she ruined him financially. One is in prison for embezzlement she convinced him to commit. One is working 3 jobs to pay off debt she created. She has a system, Sienna. And Brandon walked right into it. Does he know? Unlikely. She's good. Changes names, moves cities, alters her appearance slightly. The men never see it coming until it's too late. And she's smart enough not to leave obvious evidence behind. How did Nicole find all this? Years of experience and access to databases most people don't know exist. Plus, Vanessa got sloppy. She used the same doctors for the pregnancy confirmations. The same lawyer to file the restraining orders. The same pattern in a smaller geographic area. She's getting bolder. Sienna stood up, pacing her small kitchen. What about the false medical records Brandon has on me? That's where it gets better. Nicole tracked the IP address used to create the fraudulent patient portal account. It originated from Brandon's office. He did it himself. That's identity theft. And medical fraud. And perjury if he tries to use it in court. We have enough to bury him criminally, not just in the divorce. Have you told the police? Not yet. Nicole's still gathering evidence. We want the complete picture before we hand it over to law enforcement. But Sienna, there's more. More? Brandon's been embezzling from his consulting firm. Small amounts at first, but increasing over the last 2 years. Right around when he met Vanessa. Sienna sat down hard. His own company? The one I helped him start. The one you're still listed as a minority stakeholder in according to the original LLC paperwork. Which means you have legal standing to request a full audit of the books. How much has he stolen? Preliminary estimates? Over $200,000. The number hung in the air. $200,000. Stolen from his own company. Stolen from his business partners. Fraud on top of fraud. Does Vanessa know? Based on Nicole's surveillance, yes. In fact, the investigator believes Vanessa convinced him to do it. She has a pattern of pushing the men to commit crimes for her. Financial crimes, specifically. Then she disappears before the consequences hit. So she's planning to leave him. Almost certainly. Once the baby arrives and she's secured child support, or once the fraud catches up to him and he's no longer useful, she'll vanish. New name, new city, new target. Sienna felt an unexpected flash of something almost like pity for Brandon. Almost. What do we do with all this information? We use it strategically. First we wait. Let them think everything's going according to plan. Let Brandon continue digging himself deeper. Let Vanessa think she's safe. Meanwhile, Nicole keeps gathering evidence. How long? Another month, maybe 6 weeks. We want the full picture before we strike. Once we file the divorce response with all this evidence attached, it's over. Brandon faces criminal charges. Vanessa's entire con falls apart. And you walk away with everything. What about the house? My money? We'll get it all back. The house was purchased primarily with your inheritance funds, which you can prove. The joint accounts had contributions from both of you, but his embezzlement means that money is tainted. Add in the fraud and identity theft, and a judge will award you full restitution. I don't want the house. The thought of living in that place again made her feel ill. Let them have it. I want cash value. We can negotiate that. But Sienna, are you sure? That house is worth close to $1 million. I don't care. Sell it. Give me my half plus damages. I never want to see that place again. Your call. We'll work it into the settlement demands. After the call ended, Sienna sat in silence, processing everything. Brandon wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a criminal. A fraud. A man who destroyed his own life chasing a con artist. And Vanessa wasn't just a mistress. She was a predator. A professional who'd done this before and would do it again. Part of her wanted to warn Brandon. To tell him what Vanessa really was. To save him from the trap he'd walked into. But the memory of his cold eyes on the porch stopped her. The memory of him calling her crazy. Of him stealing her money. Of him standing there with Vanessa wearing Sienna's robe while her belongings rotted on the lawn. He'd made his choice. Let him live with the consequences. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know what you're planning. Back off or I'll make your life hell. You have no idea who you're dealing with. B. Sienna stared at the message. Vanessa knew. Somehow she'd figured out Sienna wasn't just disappearing quietly. Her first instinct was fear. Then anger. Then something colder. She screenshot the message and sent it to Jerome and Nicole. Then she blocked the number and set her phone down. Let Vanessa threaten. Let her try to intimidate. Sienna wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. She pulled out her laptop and opened the folder Jerome had created for evidence. Photos. Documents. Bank records. Everything they'd gathered. Then she opened a new document. Started writing. A timeline. Every lie Brandon had told. Every piece of fraud Vanessa had committed. Every law they'd broken. She would document everything. Build the case brick by brick. Leave no room for doubt. And when the time came, she would watch them both fall. The quiet woman they'd thrown away was gone. In her place stood someone who knew exactly what she was dealing with. And she was just getting started. Jerome's office was downtown, occupying the entire 15th floor of a glass tower. Sienna had been there once before, years ago, when her father's estate was being settled. She'd forgotten how impressive it was. Sienna. Jerome stood from behind his massive desk. He was 62 with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. You look better. I feel better. It was true. 3 weeks of sleep, proper food, and focused anger had restored her. Ready to fight. Good. Sit. He gestured to the conference table where a woman with black hair and intelligent dark eyes waited. This is Nicole Torres. My investigator. The genius, Sienna said, shaking her hand. Nicole smiled. Jerome exaggerates. I just know where to look and who to pay for information. She's being modest. Jerome opened a thick folder. Nicole, show her what you found. Nicole pulled out her laptop and turned it to face Sienna. I've been tracking Vanessa for 3 weeks. Full surveillance. These are some highlights. The screen showed photos. Vanessa meeting with a man in a coffee shop. Vanessa at a bank. Vanessa with Brandon at restaurants, doctor's appointments, furniture stores. Who's the man in the coffee shop? Sienna asked. Lawyer. Not the one representing her in your case. This one specializes in offshore asset protection and shell companies. Nicole clicked to another photo. She met with him 3 times. Always paid in cash. Always in different locations. She's planning to hide money. Already has hidden money. Nicole pulled up bank records. Vanessa has accounts in the Cayman Islands under her real name. She's been moving funds there from each of her previous marks. Current balance is approximately $800,000. Sienna felt her jaw drop. She's stolen that much? Over 10 years from multiple men, yes. And she's about to add Brandon's embezzled funds to it. Jerome leaned forward. Here's what we know. Brandon has stolen $200,000 from his firm. Vanessa convinced him to do it. The money is currently in a joint account they opened together, but she has sole access to the online banking. Once the baby is born and child support is established, she'll drain that account, disappear to a new identity, and start over somewhere else. Leaving Brandon to face the consequences alone. Exactly. His business partners are already suspicious. They've noticed the discrepancies but haven't confronted him yet. Nicole's source inside the firm says they're planning their own audit next month. So Brandon's trapped. Even if he wanted out, he can't undo what he's done. Right. And Vanessa knows it. She has him exactly where she wants him. Jerome pulled out another document. Now, let's talk about your divorce strategy. I'm listening. We have 3 options. Option 1. We file immediately with all the evidence we have. It's explosive. It destroys them both instantly. But it's also incomplete. There are still gaps in Vanessa's history that Nicole is filling in, and we don't yet have hard proof of all Brandon's embezzlement. What's option 2? We wait another month. Let Nicole complete her investigation. Let Brandon dig himself deeper with the embezzlement. Then we file with an airtight case that guarantees criminal prosecution for both of them. And option 3? Jerome's smile was sharp. We negotiate. We approach Brandon privately with some of the evidence. Offer him a deal. He gives you everything, the house, the money, a generous settlement, and we keep the embezzlement quiet. He avoids prison but loses you and everything you built together. Sienna considered the options. What do you recommend? Option 2. Maximum damage. Full justice. But Sienna, I have to warn you, going that route means this gets ugly. Public. Your name will be in court documents alongside accusations of fraud and embezzlement. The media might pick it up. Your family will find out everything. My family already thinks I'm the unstable one Brandon says I am. The bitterness in her voice surprised her. They sided with him without even asking my side. That brings up something important. Jerome's expression grew serious. Your trust fund. The one that's funding this case. Did Brandon ever know the full extent of your family's wealth? No. I told him my father left me some money. I never said how much. I wanted. She trailed off. You wanted to be loved for yourself, not your money. I understand. But Sienna, your full legal name includes your father's family name. The one you stopped using when you married. Sienna's stomach tightened. Beaumont. Sienna Beaumont Wallace. The Beaumont family. Real estate dynasty. Your father was James Beaumont, who owned half the commercial property in 3 states. Your uncle currently sits on the boards of Fortune 500 companies. Your mother's maiden name is Hayes, from the Hayes banking family. I haven't used those connections in years. But they exist. And when we file the divorce papers with your full legal name, Brandon will realize exactly who he married. More importantly, the judge will realize what you gave up to be with him. How you supported him with your own earnings while sitting on a trust fund worth millions. I don't want to use my family name as a weapon. It's not a weapon. It's context. It shows you had every resource available and chose independence. It shows you could have bought and sold Brandon 10 times over, but you loved him honestly. It makes his betrayal even more egregious. Nicole spoke up. There's something else. Vanessa specifically targets wealthy men, but she didn't know about your wealth. She thought she'd hit the jackpot with Brandon's consulting business. If she'd known the truth about your family, she would have targeted you to begin with. So my hiding my background actually protected me? In a way, yes. But now it becomes our advantage. When this goes to court and your full identity comes out, Vanessa will realize she played the wrong mark. Brandon will realize he threw away someone far beyond his league. And the judge will see clearly who the real victim is here. Jerome pulled out a calendar. Here's the timeline I propose. We file on April 15th. That gives Nicole 6 more weeks to complete her investigation. It also means we file just before tax day, which will highlight Brandon's financial fraud even more. The criminal charges will come shortly after from both the IRS and the state. What happens to Vanessa? We'll provide evidence of her con artist history to law enforcement. She'll face charges for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit embezzlement. She might cut a deal to testify against Brandon, but either way her pattern is exposed. No more victims. And the baby? The question hung in the air. Despite everything, there was an innocent child involved. Child Protective Services will be notified, Jerome said gently. If Vanessa goes to prison, the baby will go to family if she has any, or into the foster system. It's not ideal, but it's not your responsibility to fix. Sienna nodded slowly. And what do I walk away with? Everything. Jerome's voice was firm. Full value of the house plus your inheritance funds that purchased it. All money from joint accounts. Restitution for the emotional distress and fraud. Probably close to $2 million total when all is said and done. Plus, your reputation restored. Your job back if you want it. Your life back. $2 million in her life. A steep price for Brandon's betrayal, but fair. I want it all documented. Every lie he told. Every dollar he stole. Every law they broke. I want it in the public record so he can never do this to anyone else. We'll make sure of it. Nicole closed her laptop. I'll have the complete investigation report by April 1st. Everything documented, verified, and ready for court. Thank you. Sienna stood, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Both of you. For taking this seriously. For fighting for me. Jerome walked her to the elevator. Sienna, one more thing. When this goes public and your family finds out the truth, they may try to reconcile. Are you prepared for that? They chose to believe Brandon without asking my side. They went to his gender reveal party knowing I was still his wife. Whatever happens with them, we'll deal with it after. Fair enough. Stay strong. 6 more weeks. The elevator doors closed and Sienna rode down alone, watching the city shrink below her. 6 more weeks until the truth came out. 6 more weeks until Brandon and Vanessa faced consequences. 6 more weeks until Sienna Beaumont Wallace reclaimed everything they tried to steal. She could wait. She'd waited this long. And when April 15th arrived, she'd be ready to watch them burn. Sienna watched from her car as Brandon stumbled out of his office building. It was 8:30 in the evening. He'd been working late every night for the past week. She'd been following his social media accounts from a fake profile Nicole had set up. The gender reveal party had been magnificent, according to the photos. Pink confetti. Happy guests. Brandon and Vanessa glowing. But the cracks were starting to show. In the photos, Vanessa's smile looked strained. Brandon's looked exhausted. And in the background of several shots, Sienna could see their body language. Tense. Distant. The fairy tale was crumbling. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nicole. Brandon's business partners called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. The audit results are in. He doesn't know yet. Sienna smiled grimly. Tomorrow would be interesting. She started her car and drove away before Brandon noticed her. She wasn't violating the restraining order, she was just in a public parking lot. But she didn't need the hassle. Back at her apartment, she opened her laptop to find an email from Jerome. Attached is the preliminary divorce filing. Review it and let me know if you want any changes. We file in 3 weeks. The document was over 100 pages. Request for dissolution of marriage. Request for full financial disclosure. Request for forensic accounting. Request for restitution of stolen funds. Request for return of inheritance property. And in the appendices all the evidence. Bank records. Email trails. Screenshots of Vanessa's other identities. Brandon's embezzlement patterns. Medical fraud documentation. Everything. It was devastating. Complete. Undeniable. Sienna approved it without changes. The next morning she drank coffee and waited. Nicole had planted a source inside Brandon's firm, a paralegal who'd been asked to gather documents for the audit. The woman was loyal to Nicole, not to Brandon's partners, and she reported everything. At 10:15 Sienna's phone rang. They confronted him, Nicole said. The business partners. They have evidence of $240,000 in misappropriated funds. Brandon denied everything at first, then tried to blame accounting errors. They're not buying it. What happens now? They've suspended him from the firm. They're filing a formal complaint with the State Bar Association since he's a licensed consultant. They're also considering criminal charges. Does Vanessa know? She's about to. Brandon just called her. Nicole's source says he's panicking, asking her to help him explain where the money went. Sienna could almost feel sorry for him. Almost. 2 hours later, another call from Nicole. They're fighting. Brandon went home early. Neighbors report screaming. One of them threatened to call the police if it doesn't stop. Document everything. Already on it. That evening, Sienna checked the fake social media account. Brandon had posted nothing. But Vanessa had. Sometimes you realize the person you thought would protect you is actually the one you need protection from. Trust your instincts, ladies. They're usually right. The comments were sympathetic. Girl, what happened? Are you okay? If you need anything, call me. Vanessa was already starting to create her victim narrative. Getting ahead of the story. Preparing her exit. Sienna screenshot the post and sent it to Nicole. The next day brought more developments. Brandon's parents called him. His mother left a voicemail that Nicole's surveillance picked up. Brandon, your father and I are very disappointed. We raised you better than this. Stealing from your own company? Getting a woman pregnant while still married? What were you thinking? We're not giving you money to fix this. You made this mess, you deal with it. Even his family was turning on him. Vanessa's social media posts grew more pointed. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. I thought I knew him. I thought we were building something real. I was wrong. Then, for days before Jerome planned to file the divorce papers, everything exploded. Brandon was arrested. Nicole called at 6 in the morning. Turn on the news. Channel 7. Sienna scrambled for the remote. The local morning news showed footage of Brandon being led out of his house in handcuffs. Reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Brandon Wallace, a local business consultant, was arrested this morning on charges of embezzlement and fraud. His business partners allege he stole over $200,000 from their firm. Wallace is also facing allegations of identity theft and medical fraud related to his pending divorce. He's being held on $50,000 bond. The camera panned to show Vanessa standing in the doorway of the house, visibly pregnant, looking shocked and betrayed. Perfect victim. Sienna's phone rang. Jerome. Did you see? I'm watching now. His partners moved faster than we expected. Filed criminal charges yesterday afternoon. The arrest warrant was issued last night. This changes our timeline. How? We need to file today. Before Vanessa can spin this as her being a victim of Brandon's crimes. Before she can claim she knew nothing about the fraud. We need to get our evidence on record immediately. Do it. I'll have the papers filed within the hour. And Sienna? Your name is about to be everywhere. The media will connect you to this case. To your family. To everything. Are you ready? I've been ready for 6 weeks. Then let's end this. 2 hours later, the divorce filing hit the court system. And with it, all the evidence about Vanessa's true identity. Her con artist history. Her pattern of targeting married men. Her offshore accounts. Everything. By noon it was national news. Embezzlement suspect's pregnant fiancée revealed to be serial con artist with multiple identities. Brandon Wallace's wife, Sienna Beaumont Wallace, daughter of real estate mogul James Beaumont, files for divorce with explosive evidence of fraud and conspiracy. Sienna's phone exploded with calls. Her mother, her sister, former friends, media requests. She ignored all of them except one. Her uncle, Jonathan Beaumont, the current head of the family business. Sienna, I just saw the news. Uncle John, why didn't you call us? We had no idea you were going through this. You all believed Brandon. You went to his gender reveal party knowing I was still his wife. You chose him over me. A long pause. We were wrong. Your mother believed his lies about you being unstable. I should have questioned it. I should have called you myself. I'm sorry. The apology caught her off guard. Thank you. What do you need? Legal support? Financial backing? I can have our family attorneys. I have it handled. Jerome Patterson is representing me. Patterson. Good choice. Another pause. The family name is in the news now. Are you prepared for the attention? I'm prepared for the truth to come out. That's all that matters. Understood. Sienna, when this is over, we need to talk. The family owes you an apology. A real one. Not just from me. Maybe. After. She hung up and turned on the television. Every channel had the story. Brandon and Vanessa's faces plastered across screens. The house surrounded by media trucks. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. Vanessa just hired a lawyer. She's claiming she's a victim too. Says she had no idea about Brandon's crimes or his marriage. Says he manipulated her. Sienna typed back. She's lying. We have proof. I know. Her lawyer will figure that out soon enough. But she's going to fight. This won't be quick. That evening, Sienna watched Vanessa's lawyer give a statement on the courthouse steps. My client, Vanessa Hart, is a victim in this situation. She was lied to and manipulated by Brandon Wallace, who told her he was divorced. She had no knowledge of his criminal activities. She's simply a woman who fell in love with the wrong man, and now she's pregnant and alone. We ask for privacy during this difficult time. The lies were breathtaking. But Sienna knew the evidence would destroy them all. Her phone rang again. Jerome. The judge scheduled an emergency hearing for next week. Both divorce and the criminal charges will be addressed. It's going to be a circus. I don't care. Let them all see the truth. That's what I'm counting on. Get ready, Sienna. This is about to get very public very fast. Good. I want everyone to see what they did. I want it all on record. Then that's exactly what we'll give them. Sienna stood at her window watching the city lights. Somewhere out there, Brandon sat in a jail cell. Vanessa prepared her lies. The media crafted their narratives. But the truth was coming. And it would destroy them all. 3 more weeks until the hearing. 3 more weeks until everything came to light. 3 more weeks until Sienna Beaumont Wallace got her life back. She was ready. The courthouse steps were mobbed with reporters. Cameras. Microphones. Satellite trucks. The divorce and criminal hearings had been consolidated, and every media outlet in the state wanted coverage. Sienna sat in Jerome's car watching the chaos. Her uncle Jonathan was with her, having insisted on attending despite her protests. You don't have to do this, Jonathan said. Jerome can handle the hearing without you physically present. No. I need to be there. I need to look them in the eye. Sienna adjusted her navy suit jacket. Simple. Professional. Armor. Jerome turned from the front seat. The evidence speaks for itself. But Sienna, Brandon's attorney, is going to try to paint you as vindictive. Vanessa's lawyer will claim she's an innocent victim. It's going to get ugly. Let it get ugly. I'm not hiding anymore. They entered through a side entrance, avoiding the media. The courtroom was packed. She saw Brandon at one table with his attorney, looking gaunt and desperate. At another table, Vanessa sat with her lawyer, her pregnant belly prominent, tissues ready. Sienna took her seat at the third table with Jerome. She kept her eyes forward, refusing to look at either of them. The judge entered. A woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. Judge Patricia Rodriguez. This is going to be complicated, the judge said, shuffling papers. We have divorce proceedings, criminal fraud charges, embezzlement accusations, and identity theft claims all tangled together. Let's start with the divorce. Mr. Patterson, your client filed. Lay it out. Jerome stood. Your Honor, my client Sienna Beaumont Wallace seeks dissolution of her marriage to Brandon Wallace on grounds of fraud, adultery, and financial abuse. The evidence will show that Mr. Wallace, in conspiracy with Vanessa Harmon, who is using the false identity of Vanessa Hart, engaged in a deliberate scheme to defraud my client of her assets, destroy her reputation, and steal her inheritance. Brandon's lawyer jumped up. Your Honor, these are outrageous accusations. My client made mistakes in his marriage, yes, but criminal conspiracy? There's no evidence. We have extensive evidence, Jerome interrupted smoothly. Bank records showing Mr. Wallace drained joint accounts without my client's knowledge or consent. Documentation of false medical records he created to make Ms. Wallace appear mentally unstable. Communications between Mr. Wallace and Ms. Harmon planning the execution of their scheme. And evidence of Mr. Wallace's embezzlement from his own firm to fund his new life with Ms. Harmon. The judge raised an eyebrow. That's serious. Ms. Grant, you're representing the other woman? Vanessa's lawyer stood. Yes, Your Honor. And I must object to Ms. Harmon being included in these proceedings. She's a victim of Mr. Wallace's deception. She had no knowledge of. We can prove otherwise, Jerome cut in. He handed a folder to the bailiff. Your Honor, this contains evidence that Vanessa Harmon, also known as Rebecca Hamilton, also known as Victoria Hayes, has run this exact scheme 3 times before in 3 different states. She targets married men, gets pregnant, manipulates them into committing fraud, then disappears with the money. My investigator has documented her entire pattern. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scribbled notes. Vanessa's lawyer looked shocked. Vanessa herself went pale. Order. Judge Rodriguez banged her gavel. She opened the folder and read silently for several minutes. Her expression grew darker with each page. Ms. Grant, did you know about any of this? Vanessa's lawyer stammered. Your Honor, my client assured me she was a victim. I had no idea. Then perhaps you should speak with your client before we proceed further. The judge's tone was ice. Because based on this evidence, Ms. Harmon is facing serious criminal charges herself. Vanessa leaned over to whisper frantically to her lawyer. Sienna watched, emotionless. Judge Rodriguez continued. Mr. Wallace, stand up. Brandon stood on shaky legs. You're accused of embezzling over $200,000 from your business, creating fraudulent medical records, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit fraud. How do you plead to these charges? Your Honor, Brandon's voice cracked. I made terrible decisions. I was manipulated. Vanessa told me that Sienna was hiding money from me, that she was planning to leave me and take everything. I panicked. I did things I shouldn't have done, but I was trying to protect myself. By stealing from your wife and your business? The judge's disbelief was evident. I was going to pay it all back. I just needed time. Time you spent throwing your wife's belongings on the lawn and filing false restraining orders against her? Brandon had no answer. The judge turned to Vanessa. Ms. Harmon, or whatever your real name is, do you have anything to say? Vanessa stood, one hand on her stomach. Her voice was soft, broken. Your Honor, I'm 7 months pregnant. I thought Brandon was divorced. I thought we were building a life together. When I found out the truth, I was devastated. Yes, I've made mistakes in my past, but I'm trying to do better. I don't deserve to be attacked like this. You don't deserve? Jerome's voice cut through her act. Your Honor, may I? The judge nodded. Jerome pulled out more documents. Ms. Harmon has offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands containing over $800,000 stolen from previous victims. She has an appointment scheduled with an international lawyer next month to establish a new identity. She's already planning her next con. Vanessa's mask cracked. That's a lie. We have the bank records, the lawyer consultations, the travel itinerary. Jerome's voice was relentless. Your pregnancy is real, but everything else about you is a lie. You targeted Brandon because you thought he was wealthy. You convinced him to embezzle money. You helped him destroy his wife's reputation. And you were planning to disappear the moment the baby was born. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. Nicole stood from the gallery and handed a flash drive to the bailiff. Video surveillance. Recorded phone calls. Email trails. Ms. Harmon's entire conspiracy documented over 6 weeks. The judge inserted the flash drive into her computer and watched in silence. The courtroom held its breath. After 10 minutes, Judge Rodriguez sat back. I've seen enough. Ms. Harmon, you're under arrest for fraud and conspiracy. Bailiff, take her into custody. What? No. Vanessa's voice rose to a shriek. I'm pregnant. You can't arrest me. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent, the bailiff said, approaching with handcuffs. I suggest you use it. As Vanessa was led away, screaming about her baby and her innocence, Brandon collapsed into his chair. His lawyer whispered frantically in his ear. The judge addressed Sienna. Ms. Wallace, I'm sorry for what you've been through. The evidence clearly shows you were the victim of a coordinated scheme. I'm granting your divorce petition. I'm also ordering full restitution of all stolen funds, plus punitive damages for emotional distress. The house purchased with your inheritance money is awarded to you. Mr. Wallace will face criminal charges in addition to these civil judgments. Thank you, Your Honor. Sienna's voice was steady. One more thing. The judge looked at Brandon. Mr. Wallace, you threw away a woman from one of the most respected families in this state. A woman who loved you honestly despite her wealth. A woman who could have bought and sold you but chose to build a life with you as equals. You betrayed that gift in the most despicable way possible. I hope your time in prison gives you the opportunity to reflect on what you lost. Brandon said nothing. Just stared at the table broken. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Outside the courtroom, media swarmed. Sienna stood on the steps with Jerome and Jonathan facing the cameras. Ms. Wallace, how do you feel about the verdict? Relieved. Justice was served today. Did you know about your husband's crimes? I suspected fraud when I came home to find my belongings on the lawn. But I had no idea about the extent of the conspiracy until my attorney investigated. Vanessa Harmon claims she's a victim. Do you believe her? The evidence speaks for itself. Ms. Harmon is a professional con artist with a documented history. She's not a victim. She's a predator. What happens now? Sienna looked directly into the camera. Now I rebuild my life. I focus on healing. And I make sure that what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else. How will you do that? I'm establishing a foundation to help women escape financial abuse and rebuild after divorce. No one should have to go through what I went through alone. The questions continued, but Jerome gently guided her away. That's enough for today. Thank you. In the car, Jonathan squeezed her hand. You were magnificent. I just told the truth. That took courage. I'm proud of you. Your father would be proud of you. Sienna let the words sink in. Her father. The man she tried so hard not to need. The man whose legacy had ultimately saved her. Thank you, Uncle John. That evening, Sienna sat in her apartment watching the news coverage. Brandon's arrest. Vanessa's screaming exit. The judge's condemnation. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. I'm sorry. For everything. Can we talk? Sienna stared at the message for a long time. Then she replied. Not yet. But someday. When I'm ready. For now, she had everything she needed. Justice. Freedom. Her life back. And the knowledge that she'd fought for herself and won. That was enough. 3 months had passed since the hearing. Spring had turned to summer, and Sienna's life had transformed completely. She sat in her new office looking out over the city. Not the small apartment anymore. A real office in a commercial building. Professional. Clean. Hers. The sign on the door read, Phoenix Rising Foundation, supporting women through financial abuse and recovery. Nicole walked in carrying coffee. The website went live this morning. We've already had 12 requests for help. 12? Sienna took the coffee gratefully. That's more than I expected on day one. Your story resonated with people. Women who've been through similar situations who had nowhere to turn. Now they have somewhere. The foundation had been Sienna's focus for the past 3 months. While Brandon awaited trial and Vanessa sat in jail fighting extradition to 3 other states, Sienna had poured her energy into building something meaningful. The foundation offered free legal consultations, financial counseling, temporary housing assistance, and emotional support for women escaping abusive relationships. All funded by Sienna's settlement money and backed by her family's resources. Jerome called, Nicole said. Brandon's trial is set for next month. His lawyer is pushing for a plea deal. What kind of deal? 5 years in prison, full restitution, probation after release. They're arguing he was manipulated by Vanessa and deserves leniency. What do you think? Nicole shrugged. He was manipulated. But he still made choices. Stole money. Created false records. Destroyed your reputation. Those were his decisions. I'm not opposing the plea deal. Sienna had thought about this carefully. 5 years is enough time for him to understand consequences. I don't need him to spend his entire life in prison. I just need him to face accountability. That's generous of you. It's not about generosity. It's about moving forward. The longer his trial drags on, the longer I stay connected to his story. I want it finished. Fair enough. What about Vanessa? What about her? Her baby was born 2 weeks ago. A girl. She's in foster care while Vanessa fights charges in 4 states. Sienna felt a pang of sadness for the innocent child. Is there family? Vanessa's parents are petitioning for custody. They claim they had no idea what their daughter was doing. They seem genuine. I hope they get her. The baby deserves better than Vanessa. Nicole's phone buzzed. She checked it and smiled. Your mother's here. Reception just called. What? Sienna hadn't seen her mother since before the divorce. They'd exchanged occasional texts, but nothing substantial. I didn't know she was coming. She called this morning. Said she needed to see you. I told her where to find you. Before Sienna could respond, her mother appeared in the doorway. Patricia Beaumont Hayes looked older than Sienna remembered. More worn. But her eyes were clear and sincere. Sienna. Mom? Nicole quietly left, closing the door behind her. Patricia looked around the office. This is impressive. The foundation. Everything you've built. Thank you. Can I sit? Of course. They sat across from each other, an ocean of unspoken words between them. Patricia spoke first. I owe you an apology. A real one. Not a text message or a voicemail. Face to face. Okay. I believed Brandon's lies. He told me you were having a breakdown, that you were making accusations against him that weren't true. He said you needed help and I believed him because... She paused, gathering courage. Because it was easier than facing the possibility that my judgment was wrong. That I'd welcomed a monster into our family. He was convincing. That's not an excuse. I'm your mother. I should have called you directly. Asked your side. But I didn't and I'm sorry. I failed you when you needed me most. The apology was simple. Honest. More than Sienna had expected. Thank you for saying that. I also came to tell you something else. Your sister wants to apologize too. She's ashamed of how she acted. Going to that gender reveal party, posting about it on social media. She was thoughtless and cruel. She can apologize herself if she wants. I'm not stopping her. She's afraid. Afraid you won't forgive her. I haven't decided yet about forgiveness. But I'm open to conversation. Eventually. Patricia nodded, accepting that. Your uncle told me about the foundation. What you're doing to help other women. I'd like to contribute if you'll let me. Money, yes, but also time. I used to volunteer at women's shelters before your father died. I'd like to do that again. Why? Because seeing what happened to you made me realize how many women go through this alone. How many don't have the resources you had. How many suffer in silence because no one believes them. I want to help. If you'll let me. Sienna studied her mother's face. Saw genuine remorse. Genuine desire to make amends. The foundation needs volunteers. If you're serious, talk to Nicole. She'll get you set up with training. I'm serious. I promise. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Did you ever doubt Dad? Your marriage? Patricia's expression softened. Once. Early on. He traveled for business constantly. I was young and insecure. I convinced myself he was having an affair. I hired a private investigator. Can you believe that? Spent thousands of dollars investigating my own husband. What happened? The investigator found nothing. Your father was exactly where he said he was, doing exactly what he claimed. Working. Building the business that would support our family. When I confronted him with my suspicions, he wasn't angry. He was sad. Sad that I didn't trust him. We almost divorced over it. I never knew that. We worked through it. I learned to trust my partner and he learned to be more communicative about his work. It made us stronger. But I remember that fear, Sienna. That certainty that I was being betrayed. It colors everything. Makes you doubt reality. Brandon used that against me. Made everyone think I was paranoid and unstable. I know. And I'm sorry I believed it. I should have remembered my own experience. Should have known better. Patricia stood. I'll let you get back to work. But Sienna, thank you. For letting me apologize. For giving me a chance to make amends. Thank you for coming. After her mother left, Sienna sat at her desk processing the conversation. It wasn't perfect. Years of hurt couldn't be healed in one talk. But it was a start. Jerome called an hour later. Brandon's plea deal was accepted. 5 years, full restitution, 10 years probation after release. The sentencing is next week. Do you want to make a victim impact statement? Sienna had been preparing for this question. Yes. I have things I need to say. Write it down. I'll review it before the hearing. She spent that evening writing. Not with anger but with clarity. About the impact of Brandon's choices. About the women who'd reached out to the foundation with similar stories. About the importance of accountability. When she finished, it was 3 pages. Honest, powerful, final. She sent it to Jerome and waited for his response. Perfect. This will make a difference. Not just for your case but for others watching. You're changing the narrative, Sienna. That was all she'd wanted from the beginning. Not revenge. Not destruction. Justice. Truth. Change. And she was getting all 3. The foundation was growing. Her family was healing. Her life was rebuilt. Brandon would face consequences. Vanessa would face consequences. Other women would be helped. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The courtroom was packed for Brandon's sentencing. Media. Victims from his business. Character witnesses. And Sienna sitting in the front row with Jerome. Brandon sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. He'd lost weight. Aged years in just months. When he glanced back and met Sienna's eyes, she saw nothing but emptiness. Judge Rodriguez entered. The same judge who'd presided over the divorce. She reviewed her notes silently before speaking. This is the sentencing hearing for Brandon Wallace, who has pleaded guilty to embezzlement, fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Before I pass sentence, I want to hear from the victims. We'll start with Mr. Wallace's former business partners. 2 men approached the podium. Sienna recognized them from news coverage. Richard Stevens and Paul Chin. Brandon's partners at the consulting firm. Richard spoke first. Your Honor, Brandon Wallace wasn't just our business partner. He was our friend. We trusted him with our company, our clients, our reputation. He betrayed that trust by stealing over $200,000 that was meant for operating expenses, employee salaries, and business growth. Because of his theft, we had to lay off 3 employees. We lost contracts. Our reputation suffered. Paul continued. The financial damage can be calculated, but the personal betrayal can't. We thought we knew this man. We celebrated his successes. We supported him through challenges. And all the while he was stealing from us and lying to our faces. That kind of betrayal doesn't heal easily. The judge thanked them and looked at her list. Next, I'd like to hear from Sienna Beaumont Wallace. Sienna stood, her statement in hand. She walked to the podium and took a breath. Your Honor, I married Brandon Wallace 8 years ago. I believed I'd found a partner. Someone who loved me for who I was, not my family name or wealth. I hid my background specifically to find that authentic connection. And for years I thought I had. She glanced at Brandon. He was staring at his hands. When I came home from a business trip and found my belongings on the lawn, my first thought was confusion. Then fear. Then a kind of grief I can't fully describe. In 72 hours, my husband had emptied our accounts, filed false restraining orders, created fraudulent medical records, and moved his pregnant mistress into the home I'd helped purchase. The financial theft was devastating. But worse was the systematic destruction of my reputation. Brandon told our friends I was mentally unstable. He told my family I was dangerous. He created medical records claiming I had substance abuse problems. He turned every person in my life against me based on lies. I spent weeks in a budget motel questioning my own sanity, wondering if somehow I was the problem. If I'd caused this. It took time, legal support, and extensive investigation to understand the truth. That I'd been the target of a calculated scheme designed to steal my assets and destroy my credibility. The courtroom was silent. Your Honor, I'm not here to ask for maximum punishment. Brandon has pleaded guilty. He's accepted responsibility, at least legally. What I'm here to say is that his actions didn't just hurt me financially. They hurt me in ways money can't measure. They made me doubt myself. They isolated me from loved ones. They nearly destroyed my ability to trust anyone. But they also taught me something important. That I'm stronger than I knew. That justice exists if you fight for it. And that pain can be transformed into purpose. She looked directly at Brandon now. I've started a foundation to help women going through what I experienced. In 3 months, we've assisted 32 women escape financial abuse. We've provided legal help, counseling, housing support. We've shown them they're not alone and they're not crazy. That what happened to them wasn't their fault. Every woman we help is a woman who might have ended up like me. Homeless. Broken. Doubting reality. But instead they're getting justice. They're rebuilding. They're surviving. So Brandon, I want you to understand something. You tried to destroy me. You nearly succeeded. But instead you created someone stronger. Someone determined to make sure your actions lead to positive change. That's my revenge. Not your prison time. Not your financial ruin. My success. My foundation. My purpose. Your Honor, I support the 5-year sentence. I believe it's fair. I believe Brandon needs time to understand the magnitude of his choices. And I believe when he's released, he'll have an opportunity to become someone different. Someone better. I hope he takes it. Sienna returned to her seat. The courtroom remained silent. Judge Rodriguez spoke. Ms. Wallace, that was one of the most powerful victim statements I've heard in my 30 years on the bench. Thank you. She turned to Brandon. Mr. Wallace, stand. Brandon stood on shaky legs. I've reviewed your case extensively. I've read the evidence. I've heard from your victims. And I've read your own statement expressing remorse. I believe you when you say you were manipulated by Vanessa Harmon. But I also believe you made conscious choices to commit. I want to introduce you to someone. Sarah Martinez, would you come up here? A woman in her 30s approached the podium. She wore a professional dress, hair-styled, confidence in her bearing. 6 months ago, Sienna said, Sarah called our hotline from a gas station bathroom. Her husband had taken all their money, kicked her out of the house she'd helped buy, and told everyone she was unstable. Sound familiar? Gentle laughter from the audience who knew Sienna's story. Sarah had a high school diploma, 2 kids, and $23 in her pocket. She thought her life was over. Today, Sarah, tell them where you are. Sarah took the microphone. Today, I have a job as an office manager making $45,000 a year. I have an apartment that I pay for with my own money. My kids are in good schools. My ex-husband is in prison for fraud. And I wake up every morning knowing I'm safe. Her voice caught. The foundation gave me legal help I couldn't afford. They connected me with job training. They gave me a place to stay while I got back on my feet. They saved my life. Literally. The audience stood, applauding. Sarah hugged Sienna and returned to her seat. That's what we do, Sienna continued. We save lives. We restore dignity. We prove that no matter how bad things get, there's always a path forward. And tonight, I'm thrilled to announce we're opening 3 new locations. One in Florida, one in Texas, and one in Ohio. We're going national. The room erupted again. After the formal presentation, Sienna mingled with guests. Women approached to share their stories, to thank her, to ask how they could help. Donors pledged money. Volunteers signed up. The energy was electric. Her mother found her near the dessert table. I'm so proud of you, honey. Thanks, Mom. Your father would be too. He always said the Beaumont name meant something. That it came with responsibility to help others. You're honoring that in a way he never could have imagined. Tanya appeared hesitant. Sienna, can we talk? Sienna hadn't spoken to her sister beyond brief texts in months. Sure. They stepped onto the balcony away from the crowd. I'm sorry, Tanya said immediately. For going to that gender reveal party. For posting about it on social media. For believing Brandon without asking your side. I was thoughtless and cruel and I'm sorry. Why did you believe him? Honestly? Because it was easier. Because facing the possibility that someone could be that manipulative, that evil, was scary. I wanted to believe the simple story. That you were just having a breakdown and would be fine. I didn't want to think about the alternative. But you're thinking about it now. I've been volunteering with the foundation. Talking to women who've been through what you went through. Hearing their stories. Seeing how easy it is for someone to destroy another person's life. It terrifies me, Sienna. It could have been me. It could be anyone. That's why the work matters. I know. And I want to help. Really help. Not just write a check. I want to be involved. If you'll let me. Sienna studied her sister. Saw genuine remorse. Genuine desire to change. Talk to Nicole. She'll get you set up. Tanya's face brightened. Really? Really? But Tanya, understand something. Trust takes time to rebuild. I forgive you, but we have a long way to go before things are like they were. I understand. I'll do the work. I promise. They hugged. Not perfect. Not fixed. But healing. Later that evening, as the fundraiser wound down, Jerome found Sienna. I have news. Vanessa took a plea deal today. 20 years, eligible for parole in 12. She'll serve time in Florida first, then be transferred to Texas and Georgia to face charges there. 20 years. She ran the same con 4 times. Destroyed 4 families. Stole nearly $1 million total. She's lucky she's not facing life. What about her daughter? Her parents got full custody. They seem like good people. They're raising her in Ohio, away from all of this. That's good. The baby deserves a chance. She does. And because of your foundation, when she grows up, if she ever faces abuse herself, she'll have somewhere to turn. The thought gave Sienna comfort. Creating systems that would outlast her. That would help women she'd never meet. That was legacy. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Dear Ms. Wallace, my name is Christina. I just left my husband after he drained our bank account and told everyone I'm crazy. I saw your story on the news. Is your foundation real? Can you really help? Please, I have nowhere else to go. Sienna showed the message to Jerome. That's what this is all about, he said softly. Sienna typed a response. Christina, the foundation is real. We can help. Call this number tomorrow morning. You're not alone anymore. You're going to be okay. I promise. She included the foundation's hotline number and sent it. Within seconds, a response came back. Thank you. Thank you so much. I was ready to give up. You just saved my life. Sienna felt tears prick her eyes. Not from sadness. From purpose. This was why she'd fought. Why she'd survived. Why she'd transformed her pain into something meaningful. For Christina. For Sarah. For the 123 women who'd already found help. For the thousands more who would come. She looked out over the ballroom. Saw women laughing, networking, supporting each other. Saw the foundation's banner hanging proudly. Saw the future she'd built from the ashes of her worst nightmare. Brandon was in prison. Vanessa was in prison. They'd faced consequences. But Sienna? She was free. Free from the marriage that had trapped her. Free from the lies that had nearly destroyed her. Free from the fear that had paralyzed her. She was stronger. Wiser. Purposeful. She'd taken the worst thing that ever happened to her and turned it into the best thing she'd ever done. And that was the real victory. Not revenge. Not destruction. Transformation. Nicole appeared at her side. We got 3 more calls during the event. Women needing help. Word is spreading. Good. We'll help them all. Sienna, you did it. You really did it. You built something that matters. Sienna smiled. We built it. All of us. Everyone who believed in the mission. What's next for you personally? Dating? Travel? Taking a break? Honestly, I'm not sure. For the first time in years, I get to decide my own future. No one else's agenda. No one else's manipulation. Just me choosing what I want. And what do you want? Sienna thought about it. Really thought. Peace. Purpose. To wake up every morning knowing I'm making a difference. To help women find the strength I had to find. To build a life that's completely mine. That sounds perfect. It did sound perfect. And for the first time since finding her belongings on that lawn, Sienna believed it was possible. Her phone buzzed again. Her Uncle Jonathan. The family is having dinner next week. Your grandmother wants to see you. Will you come? She hesitated, then replied. I'll be there. It was time. Time to reconnect with family. Time to heal old wounds. Time to move forward.